If your mom did not tell you to clean the sink after washing dishes, were you even raised in a Black household? Better yet, were you even raised in the right household? Because I think that's a better question. Because mine definitely did. And recently I was cleaning, and you know those little drain things that you put in the sink to like stop the food from going inside. And like sometimes even if like of course, if you're a woman, the hair catchers and stuff like that. And mine was like smelly, and I was like, and I didn't notice that I didn't clean that out until it stank. And I was like, yeah, this needs to be cleaned. But of course, like God and all of the ways that He gives me messages, He hit me with this metaphor and gave me a word and a revelation from it. The revelation is that sometimes that is how we are with the tools that God has given us, right? And we use the things, we use our talents, we use our gifts, we use our cars, we use everything that comes as a form of like a blessing. And everything in this life that God has given us is not ours. It is simply a vehicle or a tool, right? He gives us the thing that gets us to the thing. Like He gives us the home. He gives us the car. He gives us the gifts. These are all vehicles, and they're all tools, and they're all bridges to get us from one point to another, or to get somebody else from one point to another. So He gave me this revelation, and I was just like, "Ooh, okay, God." And I just started to ponder on it, and I started to write about it. I started to ask Him what were some of the things that I was not preserving well. Because it's very easy to think that we are supposed to just use and use and use and use and use things and not steward them well by taking care of the thing. Hence the drain in my sink that the food was piling up in. And even though that's a tool to stop the food from going inside the sink, that still needs to be cleaned and preserved. What's up, soulmates? How's life nurturing you? Welcome to Seed Sowers Community, a safe space for creative women who are committed to ditching hustle culture to slow down and take intentional steps to develop their personal and creative identity without forsaking their faith. Today, I just have a quick message about stewardship. This channel is about development, it's about faith, it's about creative arts and service, and making sure that we're doing what is necessary to culminate all of these things, right? Something that the Lord put on me is how comfortable we get just using things and not maintaining the integrity of the tool at hand. And we want to be effective, we want to do the things, we want to be on the stages, we want to be in the rooms, but we sometimes forget that those things need to stay sharp. Sometimes those things also need rest. These tools also need care. When we neglect the maintenance in various areas of our giftings, our identity, our callings, we don't realize that we are literally dulling what once worked efficiently, and it is non-negotiable. Maintenance is non-negotiable, okay? We cannot take care of ourselves and the things that God has given us without maintaining it. I want to give a couple of examples because I am both a visual learner, and I also am I'm kind of like a mix of all of the things, honestly. Like I'm auditory, I'm visual, I'm a little bit of everything. I like to learn through, obviously, Seed for Thought is a series that gives you metaphors. So obviously you can see how my brain works and how God is always talking to me. But I wanted to give some examples of some things that kind of point to the idea of maintaining the thing, maintaining the tool in order for it to be of effective use. Have y'all ever tried have you ever tried cutting something like with a dull knife and you end up like sawing it and you're like, and you blaming the food? Like, no, babes, it's the knife. The knife needs to be sharpened. Even the sharpener itself, like if anybody has like a knife sharpener or has used a knife sharpener before, you understand that in order for it to maintain its sharpness, it has to come, at the intersection and has to be touching another sharp knife in order for the dullness to begin to get sharp again. Otherwise, it's going to lose its edge and it's going to use its ability to be effective for what it's used for, which is to cut. Another example I wanted to give, especially for the girls who are makeup girls, don't y'all realize, like, anytime you do your makeup, which do you think you're going to get a better result from? The look with the makeup brushes that's been used a few times, on not so prepped face or skin versus prepped skin with clean makeup brushes and a fully prepped skincare routine before you put your makeup on? It's an obvious answer, right? Another example would be a car. A car simply cannot be efficient or effective without maintenance. We all know that if you go too long without an oil change, you're going to mess up your engine. You're going to mess up your tires. You're going to get a blowout if you don't get your tires changed frequently. They're going to get bald and dull, and they're not going to be able to have traction as you drive and as the weather changes. So it is with our tools. So it is with our gifts. So it is with our personal identity. My last example is it's kind of funny because for those of us who have been raised in some real Black households, y'all remember back in the day where our loved ones, our aunties and uncles and all of them, they used to keep grease, right? Maybe I'm a baby kid. I don't know. Maybe this is too hood for some of y'all. It's okay. That's okay. That's not for you. This example is not for you. That's okay. It was a time where they used to keep grease, right? And if the grease is not old, they're gonna put it in a jar, in a glass jar, and baby, we using that grease on the next chicken and fish fry. You know how you go to bite a piece of chicken that previously was the grease was used for a fish fry. Your chicken is gonna be tasting like fish because you use the same grease. And again, even though this is an example of a little bit of a cross contamination thing, it's the same thing as like we can't continue to expect a different result trying to use the same methods that are expired. Okay, these things are expired. We need a freshness, we need a newness, we need something to be polished in order for it to taste the way it's supposed to taste when it hits the plate. Okay, in order for your gift to hit the way it's supposed to hit, there has to be a freshness. Somebody can tell, yeah, they sharpened up, or yeah, they've been in the gym, yeah, they've been getting their reps in. That's important. That is vital, okay? God blesses us with voices, with abilities, whether you write, whether you sing, whether you play an instrument, whether you are a digital creator, content creator, whatever the case may be, these are skill sets, especially those of us who are consistently on the go. We're going from opportunity to opportunity, gig to gig, set to set, and we're just all over the place. We're traveling a lot. We're doing all the things. That's the piece, though, that is important to understand. The in between. The in between is where this is where the pillars of who you are is supposed to be deeply rooted in the ground. Those pillars in between are called stewardship. Those pillars in between are called maintenance. Maintenance, okay? We must be able to maintain the in between. We cannot go from glory to glory and experience God if we're not stewarding what He has given us well, right? So that means for singers, doing vocal warm-ups, doing SOVT exercises, making sure that you're eating the right things, that you're resting properly. You're going to hear me talk a lot about singing and things like that because I am a singer and I am an artist primarily. So those are some of my go-to examples. But even for those of us, we stay on the go, we have very busy lives, it is imperative that you schedule rest. And I'm not talking about rest as in go get your nails done, go do all the things. No, rest as in do nothing. That is rest. If you need to know what rest looks like, go read your Bible, okay? Because even Jesus, he had moments where he literally took time away, separated himself from people to just go rest and pray. We need that type of time in between all of the doing and all of the doing because we need a re-up. We need a re-up. We need to re-energize. We need to re-strategize. We need to recalibrate. And if we don't do these things, it's easy for our tools to get worn down. And we do not want that because then we can't be effective. It's the same thing as a person who plays an instrument. I very rarely find any of my musician friends not making sure that their drum heads are right, their guitars are in tune, they're switching out their strings when it's necessary, they're cleaning their instruments. I mean, treating it like top tier, like it's a baby. Okay, that's how we have to utilize maintenance in a way of stewarding our gifts, is making sure that we are doing our part to keep it effective, positioning the tool to be effective. We can't just feel like, I'm just going to do this thing, do this thing, do this thing, and not realize it's going to wear down at one point or another if you're not stewarding it well. Sometimes it even comes by way of realizing that we have to check our spirits and our attitudes. Yeah. Especially for the spicy girls like me. I'm a spicy girl sometimes. So I have to reflect and have to bring it in a little bit. I have to realize how important it is for me to check myself, check my ego, check any motives, testing every spirit by the Spirit as well, making sure that I am not entering into anything without testing the situation, testing the opportunity, and making sure it's in alignment. Those are other forms of maintenance, right? And preservation is key. This is I want to drive home that preservation is key, because preservation is also stewardship. It is our way of saying, God, I value what you've given me so much so that I am going to care for it. I am going to treat it with care. For my parents out there, you have children who you have to steward. You have to care for them. You have to make sure that they're taking their baths and they're getting fed and they're doing all the things, because you have been entrusted with the ability to steward, right? Stewardship is also a form of leadership. We can't be in spaces doing what we do well and not have a leadership mentality by taking care of the things, right? We got to take care of all the things. It's a great way to continue to sharpen your skill set. Not only that, but it's such a great way to continue to just honor God and honor yourself. If you say that you want to do a thing, you must have the mindset of maintenance, preservation, leadership, and consistently putting yourself in a position where you do not allow what God has given you to be tainted or dull. So this week, I want you all to ask yourselves, what tools have I been overusing but under preserving? Where have I been producing but not sharpening? Sometimes I literally ask God to show me these things, and yeah, I know he's funny. When he shows me the things that I'm not preserving well, whether that's my finances, whether that's my home care, whether that's my bodily care, I'm always asking him to show me the gaps. And I'm never upset because I asked him to show me. Sometimes I think we get so much in our feelings and in our ego that when God shows us the things that we're not preserving well, we're like, well, and we have this attitude and we have these excuses. No, there is no excuse. Do you want the blessing or do you not? Yes, some things are our birthright, but some things are literally a form of a blessing that God has entrusted us to take care of and to carry out. So do you want to show that you can steward the blessing well, or do you want to forfeit the blessing? It's your choice. But I take time to invite him into these moments because he is the true searcher. He can search our hearts. He can search our minds. He can search our lives and pinpoint the little things that we kind of don't see to our own naked eye. And he's showing us like, no, you need to go and you need to clean this up. You need to go preserve this. You need to go get this together. And it's just a form of pruning so that our gardens can give better life once he starts to cut away at these things. We cannot say, I love Preston Morrison. Preston Morrison is one of my favorites. If you're not familiar with him, please go follow his podcast and his ministry. But he uses his analogy of being cut. We cannot stay sharp if we don't get cut. It's impossible. We cannot ask God to do the work in our lives to clean up the things and he not come and prune. Pruning means it cut, pulling out weeds, getting things out of the way so that the life in your garden is not being choked up by the wrong things because you chose to ignore it. If we say that we want to produce better, we are inviting the idea that we want to produce good fruit. We want to produce things that are edifying, that are life-giving. So we have to make sure we do our part. And a lot of times, these are things that are dying anyway. Sometimes we got to let go of a thing and we got to renew. Sometimes we got to upgrade. Sometimes we got to get rid of the old thing and get the new thing, and that's okay. But you have to be able to have a real assessment about what that looks like for your life, because if you know anything about plants, when a plant is trying to preserve something that's dying, it is literally using way more energy to preserve the dead thing than to give life to the plants, a part of that that is already living. We have to assess our lives for the same types of things. Maybe you need to be in a class. Maybe you need some training. Maybe you need some courses. Maybe you need to update your equipment. Maybe you need to update your software. Now, I'm not saying go out and spend a bunch of money because this economy kind of crazy right now. But if you can afford to do so, invest, because investment is also a seed. Put the seed in the ground because you're going to see the return on that investment. Maybe you need to go clean your sink, both spiritually and practically. Why? Because care is a form of stewardship, and stewardship is a form of gratitude, and it keeps our gifts sustainable and effective. Repeat after me. My Father in heaven says that every good and perfect thing comes from him, and he created me. Therefore, I am his good thing and his good idea. If I'm his good idea, that means every seed inside of me carries the fingerprint of his goodness. When I take these seeds and steward them well, his fingerprint now gets to live on forever. Thanks for being here, soulmates. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with another creative who needs to be reminded that they are a good idea too. Until next time.